Welcome, deep divers. Imagine a place so unique, so completely different from anywhere else you know, that our guide for today, a really seasoned international observer, someone who's been practically everywhere. He can only describe it in one word: Mars.
Wow, Mars. That's quite a statement, isn't it?
Exactly. Not literally, of course, but it's his way of saying this place.
Yeah.
Its rules, its feel, its culture, it's just on another level. Almost alien compared to what we're used to.
It really grabs you, that comparison, especially coming from someone like Tenenbaum, who, has seen such a huge range of cultures. It signals we're not just looking at another country.
We're diving into something genuinely different.
A whole different cultural ecosystem, yeah. His viewpoint is just invaluable. It gives us this rare chance to understand a society that constantly makes you rethink your own assumptions.
Absolutely. And that's what we're doing today. This is our deep dive into Japan, seen through the eyes, the really sharp insights of Mookie Tenembaum, who visits annually.
Right. His repeated, extensive visits give us this incredible continuity.
Exactly. And our goal here is simple. Uncover the surprising stuff, the cultural paradoxes, the day-to-day realities that make Japan, well, Japan. We want to give you a shortcut to really getting a handle on this fascinating place.
We'll cover it all, right? The silent cities, the unique social rules, the tech.
Everything. Tech marvels, daily customs, the big picture, the small details. Prepare to have some ideas flipped upside down.
And what's great is Tenenbaum's sharing this almost live. He's in Tokyo right now, early September, Saturday, September 6th, 9 p.m. his time.
So that's, what, 12 hours ahead of Buenos Aires?
Precisely. So we're getting his fresh take, his first impressions from this trip. He usually stays about a month, sometimes heads to Osaka for things like the World Fair.
A whole month, year after year.
And even then, he always says it barely scratches the surface, especially Tokyo. It's just immense, layers upon layers.
Yeah, it really drives home the complexity. He even mentioned how when you visit matters, like last May he was there, right?
Yeah.
And he missed this crying baby competition.
Oh, the Nakizumo. Yes, I've heard of that.
He described it sumo wrestlers holding babies, encouraging them to cry. Apparently it's for good health. Just shows the sheer variety, things you wouldn't even imagine.
It really does. And Tenenbaum, picking up on that, it shows how these aren't just quirky events. They're, deeply part of the culture, community, belief.
Living traditions.
Exactly. And for him, even after all his visits, seeing these different facets just reinforces that Japan is always evolving, always offering something new to understand about its roots.
Okay, let's dive into Tokyo itself then. That image most of us have, Shibuya crossing.
Oh, yeah. Iconic.
That massive flood of people crossing from all directions, but somehow they don't collide.
It's mesmerizing.
The Tenenbaum nailed it. He called it chaotically organized. He said it's a place everyone just has to go see, like a pilgrimage spot, just to watch this human ballet.
It really is. But beyond that one famous spot, Tenenbaum really emphasizes the scale. We're talking 36 million people in the metro area.
36 million. It's staggering. More people than entire countries.
It's almost impossible to comprehend that density.
But he adds this crucial layer, right? It's not just one giant city.
No, that's key. He says it's more like 100 distinct neighborhoods, each one with its own vibe, its own character, often its own specialty food.
So it breaks down this massive entity into something more manageable, maybe little villages within the megalopolis.
Kind of, yeah. It's how the city handles its own vastness, fostering these micro-identities. You go here for electronics, there for fashion, somewhere else for a specific ramen. It's incredibly decentralized in that way.
Right. And then comes the big surprise, the thing that I think will really blow people's minds.
Ah, the silence.
Yes. Despite the millions, the density, the images of crowds, Tenenbaum insists Tokyo is fundamentally silent. He says, zero noise.
It's hard to believe, isn't it?
Completely. He talks about the cars super quiet. Even the older combustion engines are perfectly tuned, barely make a sound.
And those narrow vans, he mentioned those too.
Yeah, designed specifically for Tokyo streets, not just to fit, but to minimize noise, minimize disruption. It's all about maintaining the quiet.
It's intentional. That contrast, the visual bustle versus the audible calm, is maybe the first big aha moment Tenenbaum offers. It forces you to just scrap your idea of what a giant city sounds like.
It's not an accident. It's culture. It's design. It's a priority.
Exactly. It points to these deep values about respecting shared space, minimizing your own impact, creating harmony even with millions packed together. Your noise is sacrificed for the collective quiet.
It's so counterintuitive. You picture Tokyo, you picture noise, but Tenenbaum says no. It makes you wonder what else we've got wrong.
Well, let's dig into some of those core cultural pillars he identified. Cleanliness, adaptability, and that really profound concept he calls the annihilation of the self.
Okay, let's start with cleanliness,
Yeah.
because Tenenbaum describes it as almost unbelievable.
Yeah.
Just everywhere.
And not just sort of clean, impeccable.
He mentions subway bathrooms, even the busiest ones being spotless, public squares, streets, just pristine.
And his key insight is why. It's not just an army of street sweepers.
Right, he says primarily the behavior of the people.
Mm-hmm. That famous example, Japanese soccer fans cleaning the stadium after a match. It's legendary. But Tenenbaum stresses it's not a one-off. It's a real, consistent display of collective responsibility.
Taking ownership of shared space.
It's a self-policing system, really, driven by this deep respect for order, for common property.
And he says this meticulous care extends beyond just public spaces, right? It applies to possessions, too, like cars.
Ah, yes, the used car export thing. It's fascinating.
He says Japan is the world's biggest exporter of used cars. Not because they're junk, but because they're kept in perfect condition.
Like, almost new.
Exactly. He said buying a used car there is practically like buying new because the maintenance, the care, it's just on another level. That level of preservation is incredible.
It's that same respect, isn't it? Respect for the object, commitment to quality, making things last. It's not just about tidiness. It's about valuing resources, maintaining standards. It even shapes their economy, creating this market for perfectly kept secondhand goods.
Okay, so cleanliness is one pillar. What about adaptability? Tenenbaum really emphasized this.
Yeah, their rapid modernization. He points back to the Meiji era, starting around, 1868?
Right, going from this deeply feudal society to a modern industrial power with, as he put it, impressive speed.
It was an astonishingly fast transformation. And Tenenbaum sees that same capacity for change even today.
In how readily people adopt new things.
Exactly. Young and old, he says they just embrace new tech, new ideas very naturally. It's almost, unbelievable, that level of flexibility, moving from centuries of isolation to hyper-modernity so quickly.
It shows a real willingness to evolve, to learn, to integrate the new without just throwing out the old.
They incorporate it into the old, finding ways to blend tradition and modernity. It's a key part of their resilience, I think.
Okay, and then the third pillar, the one Tenenbaum seems most struck by, the annihilation of the self. Annihilation del yo.
This is central, absolutely core to understanding Japan, according to him.
He stresses it's not like a government rule. It's deeper. You don't matter, the other person matters. That's the principle.
And it's not forced, it's just ingrained. It's the fundamental social contract, prioritizing the group, the harmony, the other person's comfort over your own individual needs or wants.
It leads to this incredible consideration, this empathy.
It does. And Tenenbaum's point is, when a whole society operates like that, you get this level of order, respect, trust. It seems almost impossible from a Western individualistic perspective.
It's a totally different model for how society can function.
With its own strengths and, as we'll see, its own unique challenges, too.
He gave some really vivid examples of this in action, like at dinner.
Oh, the serving etiquette. Yeah.
Always serve everyone else before you even think about pouring your own drink or taking food, making sure others are taken care of first.
It's automatic.
Yeah.
And in crowded places like the subway.
People physically shrink themselves.
Yeah.
He described people hunching over, pulling bags in tight,
Yeah.
just trying to take up the absolute minimum space.
Consciously avoiding bumping or inconveniencing anyone. It's about minimizing your own presence for the sake of others.
He even had that personal story as a businessman, finishing a meeting and finding a taxi waiting outside.
Unasked for.
Totally unasked for. His host just knew he'd need one and arranged it. That level of anticipation, of thinking ahead for someone else's comfort, it's remarkable.
It shows how deeply this principle runs. It's not just about avoiding offense. It's about actively facilitating ease and comfort for others, almost preemptively.
And then there's the whole physical contact thing,
Yeah.
or lack thereof.
Right. Bowing is the standard greeting. Reverence.
But generally, no touching, no handshakes, no hugs, no pats on the arm.
Tenenbaum even said touching is seen as somewhat dirty. An intrusion, maybe.
Yeah, like crossing a boundary. And he observed this even with young people. Friends saying goodbye after a night out.
Just a bow, no hugs, no casual touching. They just part ways.
It's such a different way of interacting socially. It makes you wonder how closeness or affection is expressed, if not through touch.
Tenenbaum suggests it's more through that attentiveness, anticipating needs, shared experiences, respect, a nonverbal language of connection, perhaps, rather than a physical one.
This selflessness, this focus on the other, Tenenbaum found extends to honesty too, like unbelievable honesty.
The unattended stores.
Right. Shops where you just walk in, pick your stuff, and leave money. Some open 24/7, no staff at all, just pure trust.
It sounds like science fiction in some places.
Doesn't it? But the most mind-blowing statistic he shared was about lost money.
Oh, the police figure. That's incredible.
He said the police receive about $2 billion in cash annually, found in the street, turned in by ordinary people.
$2 billion just found and returned.
It's almost incomprehensible. It speaks volumes about the baseline level of civic honesty.
It really does. Tenenbaum did mention, sadly, that sometimes foreigners might exploit this trust.
But the sheer scale of returned money shows that for most Japanese people, that principle holds. You don't benefit from someone else's misfortune. Societal integrity comes first.
So this annihilation of the self, it's not just politeness. Tenenbaum shows how it's the key that unlocks understanding so much else.
Exactly. The silence, the cleanliness, the honesty, it all connects back to this fundamental value.
It provides this coherent framework for understanding what might otherwise seem like random, baffling cultural quirks. It shows a society functioning on a radically different operating system.
Okay, so we've got silence, cleanliness, selflessness. Now, Tenenbaum introduces another layer, maybe the most paradoxical one. He calls it kind of terrible innocence, almost childlike.
The aniñamiento. Yeah, this is a really complex one.
He links it back to post-World War II, Japan's history during the war. It's brutal. Things like the rape of Nanking, treatment of prisoners, horrific atrocities, and then they endured the atomic bombs.
A devastating period.
And Tenenbaum says after all that, Japan made a conscious strategic choice, not like Germany, which leaned into acknowledging guilt. Japan decided to clean its history.
To reinvent its image.
It's exactly. To become, as Tenenbaum put it, the least threatening thing in the world. They deliberately adopted this childlike, innocent, non-threatening persona on the world stage.
It was a national strategy, not just a mood, a way to disarm global perception after the trauma and aggression of the war years.
And a big part of that strategy, Tenenbaum notes, was essentially giving up its military.
Right, like Costa Rica, but on a much larger scale with much bigger neighbors and strategic importance. It's a radical move.
A huge gamble, really.
Right.
And it had these massive, lasting cultural effects.
That decision to demilitarize and adopt this non-threatening stance is absolutely fundamental to understanding post-war Japan. It shaped everything that came after.
And Tenenbaum directly connects this shift to the explosion of manga and anime.
He mentioned Suzuka, likely meaning Osamu Tezuka, the god of manga.
Right, Tezuka. Creator of Astro Boy, originally Atom, that name itself potentially referencing the atomic age.
With those big, innocent Disney-inspired eyes, that aesthetic became defining.
Tenenbaum argues it wasn't just entertainment. It was part of this national project of appearing harmless, innocent, childlike.
It became the visual language for this new Japan. Cute, non-threatening, friendly. It permeated everything.
And Tenenbaum says it's still everywhere now. Advertising, packaging.
Even the voices on automated systems.
Yeah, he described them as cute little anime-like voices. High-pitched, non-intimidating. It's in product design, too.
And the cosplay festivals he attended.
Right, people dressing as anime characters. He noted some costumes were sexually suggestive, but still very childlike or adolescent in style. A strange mix.
That combination, this suggestive yet innocent aesthetic in cosplay, highlights the really complex, sometimes baffling paradoxes within this aniñamiento culture. It's where different concepts intertwine in ways unique to Japan.
But here's the crucial question Tenenbaum raises.
Yeah.
What are the long-term consequences of this national strategy, this embrace of the childlike?
Because it seems to have had profound social effects, really challenging ones.
He points to demographics. Fewer people getting married, fewer having kids, less sex happening overall.
The statistics he shared are genuinely alarming.
More than half of men reach 40 without ever having had sexual relations. That's dark.
It raises huge questions, doesn't it? How does a well-intentioned national identity strategy, born from historical trauma, lead to a demographic crisis decades later? It's having massive impacts on Japan's future.
And it's a strange paradox because alongside this reluctance towards real-world relationships, Tenenbaum observed a high consumption of media depicting infantile sex.
Yeah, that's deeply troubling. He mentioned that depictions of sex between adults and minors in animation were illegal until just a couple of years ago.
Only stopped due to international pressure. And he described Japanese sex shops as Very special. Different, often reflecting that same childlike or niche aesthetic.
It suggests this profound disconnect, maybe, between fantasy or virtual intimacy and the challenges of real-world relationships and family building. It fuels the demographic problem.
And the result? A critically low birth rate, a rapidly aging population, huge generational gaps.
Straining everything.
Yeah.
Social services, the economy, the workforce.
Tenenbaum even pointed to a visible sign: abandoned houses in the countryside. Lots of them.
Nobody wants them. He mentioned high property taxes as a major reason, making inheritance a burden, so you get this hollowing out of rural areas.
It's a visible symptom of these deeper demographic and economic pressures, all intertwined with these cultural shifts.
The complex web of causes and effects stemming from historical choices, cultural values, and economic realities.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit to daily life stuff Tenenbaum observed. Food, for instance. He says, forget the idea that it's all just sushi.
Right. Sushi is actually relatively modern, he points out.
What really struck him was the specialization. Restaurants that do only sushi. Or only tempura.
Or just yakitori, those grilled skewers.
You don't find big, varied menus like in the West. It's all about mastering one thing.
It connects to that idea of shokunin, the artisan spirit, perfecting one craft. And Tenenbaum also stressed how good the food is, extremely high quality, and surprisingly affordable.
Accessible excellence.
Exactly. Quality isn't just for the rich.
But then there's the twist. The preservation paradox.
Yeah. The sandwich is lasting forever.
He mentioned that despite this focus on good living, lots of everyday food, like convenience store sandwiches, are packed with preservatives. They can last a month and a half. Seems like a total contradiction, right?
On the surface, yes. But Tenenbaum explains it's pure pragmatism.
Because of the small living spaces.
Exactly. Tiny apartments mean tiny fridges. People can't stock up on fresh stuff easily. So long-life food isn't a contradiction for them, he says. It's a logical adaptation.
A practical solution driven by a necessity. It shows how daily constraints shape even food culture.
It's that flexibility again, adapting values to fit reality.
And speaking of small spaces, the apartments. Tenenbaum described typical sizes as 8 to 16 square meters.
Incredibly tiny.
But he was amazed by the unbelievable level of space optimization. How they make these tiny spaces so functional, so livable.
It's an art form born from density. He mentioned multifunctional appliances, like rice cookers that do way more than just cook rice.
Like a mini microwave or steamer, too?
Ingenious design. Maximizing utility, minimizing clutter. It's a masterclass in efficiency.
But one area that's surprisingly challenging, Tenenbaum noted, is waste management.
Yeah. You have to pay for removal, sometimes travel quite far to dispose of certain types of trash.
Up to 30 minutes by train or car, he said. Which is odd because he also mentioned Tokyo had the best waste system in the world back in 1870.
It showed how even hyper-organized societies face new challenges with modern consumption and density. But the fact people do go to such lengths to dispose of trash correctly.
It still reflects that deep commitment to cleanliness and civic duty, even when it's inconvenient.
Absolutely.
And on public facilities, those advanced toilets.
Oh yeah, the heated seats, the bidets.
And the music. To cover sounds, for privacy. All designed, Tenenbaum stressed, not to disturb others.
It's the annihilation of the self in bathroom form. Every feature considers the impact on others, minimizing potential discomfort. Applied technology serving social grace.
Okay, economics. Tenenbaum mentioned Tokyo used to be famously expensive.
One of the priciest cities on Earth, yeah.
But not so much anymore, at least for visitors. Because the yen has weakened so much. He said it went from like 80 yen to the dollar to 150.
A massive drop. He joked it's a gift for Argentinians now. Said a month's salary from Buenos Aires could last 4 months in Tokyo.
Wow. And why the weak yen?
He put it down to Japan's super low interest rates, near zero for ages now. So investors look elsewhere for better returns, selling yen, weakening it. Makes yen loans cheap globally, too.
But here's the catch, Tenenbaum added, while it's cheap for tourists.
Life is still very expensive for actual Japanese people, especially housing.
Buying property is extremely expensive, rents are high, it eats up a huge chunk of their income.
So there's this real split, isn't there? Visitors find it a bargain, but locals are still facing intense cost of living pressures, particularly for a place to live.
And another fundamental economic difference Tenenbaum highlighted, savings versus credit.
Right, opposite of the West.
He said Japanese culture strongly prioritizes saving first, then spending. Very little reliance on credit or going into debt.
It reflects that culture of prudence, planning, Financial responsibility shapes everything from personal budgets to national economic stability. Less debt, maybe, but perhaps also more cautious spending.
Okay, last big area of daily life. Transportation. Public transport is king, right?
Absolutely. Tenenbaum called the subway and train network incredible and perfectly punctual.
And he meant perfectly. He told that story about trains being delayed by just 1 minute.
And company staff waiting at the exits with official apology notes.
Justification slips for your boss.
Yeah,
It's amazing. Shows that intense commitment to reliability and respecting people's time. It's not just a nice to have, it's systemic.
A tangible example of accountability.
Tenenbaum also listed a bunch of specific rules for public spaces, like no eating in the street, considered rude.
And consequently, no trash cans on the street either, to discourage eating and littering.
You just carry your trash until you find a bin inside somewhere. Same with smoking ban on streets, strict fines, designated smoking zones only.
And pedestrians waiting patiently at red lights, even if there are no cars.
He said, the Japanese wait. That discipline is incredible.
All these rules, they weave back into that core idea. Don't disturb others, maintain order, respect the shared environment. Collective harmony trumps individual convenience every time.
He did say many people own cars, but parking is brutally expensive, so public transport usually wins. Not many motorbikes or scooters. Bicycles are used, sometimes on sidewalks, even though it's not allowed.
A rare little crack in the perfect order, perhaps.
But overall, it sounds incredibly structured. Every movement, every interaction seems governed by these underlying principles.
It reinforces that image of a deeply ordered society. Even minor deviations are exceptions that prove the rule. The system is designed for collective flow.
Okay, circling back to the social fabric, that honesty theme.
The billions returned, the unattended shops.
Tenenbaum kept returning to it. It shows this fundamental baseline of trust that just operates differently there.
It enables social structures that would be unthinkable elsewhere. It's not just a nice trait, it's functional.
What about crime, though? In such an orderly place.
Well, Tenenbaum says street crime muggings, assaults is virtually non-existent, an incredible sense of personal safety.
But there's the Yakuza, organized crime.
Yes, though he notes they're very much in decline now, their influence isn't what it was, and their methods are different.
Like publicly shaming debtors, posting signs saying this man did not pay.
In a culture where saving face is everything, that can be devastating, more psychological than physical violence. Often it shows how even crime adapts to cultural norms.
And that detail about nightclubs posting no Yakuza allowed signs.
And the Yakuza actually respecting them, it's bizarre.
It suggests even criminals adhere to certain rules, certain boundaries. Respect for order runs deep.
Even in the underworld, there's a kind of social contract, it seems.
He also mentioned the judicial system. That statistic. If the police decide you're guilty, only a 1% chance of acquittal in court.
Sounds harsh, right? But Tenenbaum's interpretation was interesting. He suggested it means police are incredibly thorough before they charge someone. They focus on solid proof, not just arrest numbers.
So the high conviction rate reflects the high certainty of guilt by the time it gets to court.
That was his take. And he saw police being extremely respectful, even when issuing fines. Courtesy permeates authority, too.
Another cultural trait he hammered home, the uncomplaining nature.
I have never heard a Japanese person complain. That's a direct quote he gave.
Such a contrast to, well, us. Complaining about prices, traffic, weather. It's practically a hobby here.
But Tenenbaum says they just don't. High taxes, inconveniences. There's this acceptance, this stoicism. Maybe it's part of that self-annihilation thing again.
It makes you wonder, though, if nobody complains, how do things change? How are problems addressed?
That's the fascinating question Tenenbaum implicitly raises. Maybe it happens through observation, consensus, and direct signals, not necessarily through vocal grievance, a different mechanism for societal feedback.
And finally, symbols. Tenenbaum stressed their immense power in Japan, using the Yasukuni Shrine as the prime example.
Hugely controversial. Housing the spirits, as they believe, of 2.5 million war dead, including Class A war criminals like General Tojo.
Which deeply angers China and Korea, especially when the prime minister visits.
And the Japanese perspective Tenenbaum described is fascinatingly different. Once a spirit is enshrined, I cannot remove it. It becomes a clash of symbolic spiritual belief versus historical fact and international sensitivity.
A conversation of minds, not just facts, as he put it.
It highlights how different cultures process history and memory, how symbols can carry sacred weight that overrides rational argument.
Tenenbaum's conclusion was stark. The word symbolic in Japan is more potent than anywhere else.
It's absolutely key to understanding their worldview, their politics, their identity. You have to grasp the power they invest in symbols.
Okay, let's look forward. Tenenbaum talked about applied technology, not just gadgets, but how tech is woven into everything.
Practically applied. That was his emphasis, like those amazing 3D billboards, the cat that looks like it's jumping out at you.
Or street workers with dozens of tiny LED lights on their uniforms for safety.
Smart, practical integration. He also mentioned the unique 100V electricity, another sign of their distinct path. And Akihabara, the electronics district, still the place to see the latest stuff.
But the most out there thing, maybe the most Martian observation, the human rentals.
Ah, yes. This is where it gets really unique.
Companies that rent people for social roles, like resignation services.
If you're too embarrassed or anxious to quit your job directly, you hire someone to do it for you. Avoids confrontation, saves face for everyone.
It's the annihilation of the self applied to awkward life moments, minimizing discomfort above all else.
A uniquely Japanese solution to a common social friction point.
But even more striking, grandma rentals.
Rent an obasan.
Yes. If you don't have a grandmother, or just want one, you can hire an older woman to play the role. Tell stories, give comfort.
Tenenbaum said it's becoming increasingly common, which is quite something.
It speaks volumes, doesn't it, about loneliness, changing family structures, maybe the demographic shifts we talked about.
It addresses this deep human need for connection, for intergenerational wisdom, in a very commercial, very modern, very Japanese way. It raises profound questions about connection in hyper-modern societies.
So these services, resigning by proxy, renting a grandma, Tenenbaum sees them as reflections of core values, prioritizing the other, avoiding discomfort, finding creative solutions to societal gaps.
They're not just quirks, they're indicators. Windows into how that culture adapts and innovates, socially and emotionally, not just technologically.
What an incredible journey Tenenbaum has taken us on. His insights really do paint Japan as a world unto itself.
From the silence, the selflessness, the childlike culture, the honesty, the unique approach to problems, that Mars metaphor feels more apt the more we learn.
It's a society built on principles so different from ours. Respect, order, consideration for the other, taken to extremes we can barely imagine.
It really forces you to question your own assumptions about how things should be, doesn't it?
Definitely. And it leaves us with that final thought. If a society prioritizes the other so much, adopts innocence so strategically, even commercializes human connection, what does that mean for the future of interaction? Not just there, but potentially for our own world as we grapple with connection and isolation.
It's a lot to think about. A truly deep dive.
It certainly is. Thank you for joining us on this exploration of Japan through Tenenbaum's eyes. Keep exploring, keep questioning. We'll see you next time for another deep dive.